carried out by Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I normally don't really celebrate St. Patrick's Day, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of do a themed video, so I did a lot of green stuff. So, National Ravioli Day, I think, is actually on the 20th. So I made some homemade ravioli. It didn't really work out, but we'll see how it tastes. If it's good, I will write what I did in the description box below. And then I made this spinach sauce, which I'm really excited for. If that is good, I will write what I did in the description box below. And then I made another PIZOOKIE. This one is requested by one of you guys. It is a chocolate PIZOOKIE with Thin Mints and mint Oreos. So I put some vegan Thin Mints in the center, and then I put Oreo crumbles on top, and then I melted down the mint Oreo filling and drizzled that on top, and then put vanilla bean ice cream. And then also for today's video, I'm finally bringing you guys the next true crime, and this one is pretty sad. Just a little bit of a disclaimer. This video contains adult content, and I will be discussing murder, death, and drugs. So viewer discretion is advised, and I mean no harm to any of the families who were involved in this true crime. Also, I'm probably going to butcher every single name in this video, so just be prepared for that. But yeah, so I'm just going to start though, and you know me, dessert first. I'm actually really excited for this because the Thin Mints I got are from the brand Back to Nature, I think. And they're so good. They're coated in chocolate and everything, so... Whoa. What did I do? It tastes like a mint brownie with ice cream. And that's just water. You probably already know that. So today's true crime just proves that parents tend to be the cause of how their children turn out. So today's story involves a guy who intrinsically followed in his father's footsteps. Which, if his dad was a good person, that would be cool, but his dad was a serial killer. So our story begins in the early 1980s when a disfigured body of a young girl was uncovered in close proximity to the Wat Phra Krai district in Bangkok, Thailand. It was eventually determined that the murder was carried out by Cholomchai Ongwizit along with his brother-in-law. Following a comprehensive term in prison, Cholomchai returned home to be shot and killed, which many people believe was by a hitman hired by his wife, substantially due to the fact that ensuing his death, his wife abruptly fled overseas at no point returning. Consequently, their family had gained a reputation that would lead many to believe that their son, Apachai Aunguzit, to pilot similar behaviors. So when he was inevitably accused of murder, it came as no surprise. After his father died and his mother left, Apachai assumed his father's property, a large house with a lot of land, including a tropical garden. He also inherited his father's wealth. His dad was the founder and owner of the now inoperative Aunguzit market in Bangkok. Due to this factor, the father's wealth, Apachai, his sister, and his mother never really needed to be concerned about money growing up. However, succeeding his father's death and the abandonment of his mother, who took his sister with her, Apachai was left to be raised by distant relatives who didn't really care for him. This left him considerate amounts of time on his own, and many claimed to have seen him just roaming the streets by himself. As he grew older, Apachai assumed a steady income. However, the source of this active income was through distribution of drugs, more specifically methamphetamine. This also led to Apachai's proficiency of the tenebrous underbelly of Bangkok, as well as providing him with several covert connections within. Apachai was, as you would expect, controlling and vituperative, or abusive. This made it very difficult for him to maintain any partners, as his behavior would scare them off. And it didn't help that he wanted a partner that he could claim as his own, yet not maintain loyal himself. He was so abusive that he ended up holding a woman at gunpoint and demanded her to follow him home. Like, what? Thankfully, she got away. Unfortunately, due to his wealth, he was able to pay her off in exchange for her to not say anything. So she kept silent and he got away with it. Despite Apachai's imminent run-in with the law, this would not deter him from continual visits to hostess bars. He kept in contact with numerous women. However, there was one particular girl whom he fancied. Warren Thorne Chiachat? I'm probably saying that so wrong. She was a 22-year-old girl who, by her close friends, was typically called Kakik. She was raised by her grandmother in Thailand, and she was also formerly married with children. However, they got divorced, which led her to move to Bangkok and get a job at a hostess bar in order to provide for her children. Apachai and Kakik would eventually meet each other, and they would spend hours together in the host bars, which eventually led to her spending the night at his place. And actually, it seemed as though Apachai enjoyed the time he was spending with her. Kakik discovered his dealings with drugs, ultimately prompting her to partake in certain drugs with him. After months of being with each other, Apachai would eventually develop proprietorial feelings toward Kakik. For example, to ensure that she wasn't pursuing other men, Apachai would impel her to stay at his place most nights. So he was very possessive and controlling. Poor Kakik. Okay, before I move on, I'm going to try this ravioli. And I just put vegan parmesan on top. I don't know if it's the sauce or the ravioli, but I'm getting an interesting flavor. It might be the sauce, the spinach in the sauce. I don't know. It's good, but I wouldn't make it again. But if you want me to, I can still write the recipe in the description box below. In August of 2019, Kikik had ceased all communication with everyone, including her family. And just after a few days, her family had reported her missing. But unfortunately, due to her realm of work, police didn't take her disappearance as serious as they should have. Granted, it was a big industry, so it's difficult to know where to start, but at least start. Jumping forward to January of 2020, a man who used to work as a security guard at Apachai's residence was caught dealing drugs. Now, drug dealing is taken very seriously in Thailand. I don't know about still, but at the time, I mean, this was only a few years ago, but whatever. At the time, drug dealing was taken very seriously, even to the point of the death penalty. In order to lessen his sentence, the ex-security guard revealed information about Apachai that could potentially convict him. Now, this was of interest to the police because they had been looking for plausible cause of any kind to arrest Apachai. And now they just might get that chance. So they're gonna take it. I don't know why, I'm not super hungry today, so I don't know how much I'm going to be able to eat, but yeah. So the ex-guard imparted to the police that if they dug up a certain spot on Apachai's property, they would find a body of a young girl. And he affirmed this by stating that he aided in burying the body upon Apachai's demand. And he also mentioned that he believes there are more victims as well. On January 9th of 2020, officers detained Apachai and began searching his home. Forensic investigators dug alongside the extensive pond on his property and soon discovered a large metal casket. And sadly, inside they discovered the remains of a young woman. She had been wrapped in clothes, a bedsheet, and a plastic bag, and it was shortly determined that it was Kekik. The police arrested Apachai, and even considering all evidence, Apachai aggressively denied all allegations. Now, unfortunately, this was not the end of all the horror. Upon excavation of his property, police procured 298 human bones from the pond, all of which appearing to belong to women. They also found several heavy objects such as weights and cement that could have been utilized to weigh down the bodies. And if that wasn't enough, they also discovered another casket containing the remains of another woman. Some suspected that in order to lessen the amount of evidence, Apachai put carnivorous fish in the pond to help get rid of that evidence, if you know what I mean. But police found no proof or evidence of this being the case. Despite Apachai's denial in murdering Kekik, a rough story was pieced together of how Kekik was killed. Apachai had a story of his own, which he claimed that Kekik was planning on going back to her ex-husband, and he was not going to let that happen, so he grabbed her by the arm, put her in the casket, and closed it, and left her there overnight. Now, what he didn't realize was that the casket was airtight. I don't know how you wouldn't know this, but okay, whatever. So, she ended up suffocating, and by morning, she was dead. Now, eventually, after investigating and further testimony from the ex-guard, Apachai's story was overtly untrue. Kekik's autopsy revealed that she had crushed ribs and a collapsed chest cavity. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like that would happen from suffocating in a casket. The security guard stated that Apachai beat Kekik and then bound her hands and feet and threw her in the casket. He also admitted that he didn't know that Kekik was there until the following day when Apachai paid him to help him dispose of the body. And because he needed the money, he shamefully agreed to help. Throughout his prosecution, Apachai would continually change his story. However, through the autopsy reports, we know for sure that Kekik died from blunt force trauma. Despite all of the bones found on Apachai's property, there was no way that they could officially link any of the bones to Apachai himself, which is so frustrating. So he would only be charged for one murder. However, they did find drugs on his property, which would make his case worse. 1 year later, he pled guilty to the death of Kekik, but denied all other charges. In January of 2020, the judge ended up finding him guilty of all charges. Sorry if it looks different, guys. My camera battery died, so I had to charge that for a second. But I was saying that in January of 2020, the judge ended up finding Apachai guilty of all charges, resulting in him receiving 25 years for drug possession, 11 years for assault, and a life sentence for murder, just scarcely circumventing the death penalty. So this is a pretty sad story, and sometimes I feel like I seem like I don't care, but I really do, and it makes me so sad. I'm just telling the story, you know, and so I'm trying to get through it, and so sometimes I forget that it's real and it happened, and it's just, I can't believe that things like this happen out there. It's sad and depressing and dumb. People are dumb. I'm just gonna take one more bite because, like I said, I'm really full and I'm not super hungry. Every day is different, so I apologize that I'm not eating as much, but I still enjoyed it. Last bite. Alright you guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you enjoyed the true crime. Like I said, this was one that I kind of just found on my own. And I thought it was interesting, so I wanted to share it with you guys. Thank you guys so much for all your love and support. I really appreciate it. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and if you want to see more. And don't forget to subscribe. By the way, it's free. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!